Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you doing today? So as you could probably tell from the title, I am going to be telling you guys or showing you guys my favorite books of 2020. So I recently kind of just got back into reading for 2020 or like in 2020. So I have a lot of books. I've read, I think, like 81 books this year. So that's kind of a lot, but I'm just gonna show you guys my favorite books. If you guys want to see how I created this makeup look, I can post a tutorial on it. I just did it like really quick, just for today. But if you want to see how I did this makeup look, I could post that for you guys for like a holiday makeup look, because it's not like super Christmassy. I just think it's pretty. You got like the nice red lip, but it's not like bright red. It's kind of like a burnt red. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling and let's jump into the video. Okay, so some of these are just gonna be like a series that I read, and I'll just show you guys like the first book. But the first book is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. And this series it's like a fairy tale retelling. So you have Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, and Winter, which is Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White. Wow, that took me a lot longer than it should have. But basically, these are just retellings of the different fairy tales. And it's really interesting because eventually all the characters meet and interact, but obviously in this book we just meet Cinder. But basically she's a cyborg, and you follow her journey through life, and of course she meets the prince, and then everything just takes off from there. So I think the first and the last books were my favorite out of the series. The last book, it was interesting because we didn't meet the last character, Winter, until the last book, so you didn't have a lot of time to like kind of connect with her character. So because then also you're covering 3 other perspectives in addition to Winter's perspective. So she wasn't my favorite character, I'll just say that. But I really loved this series, and it's like, I mean, the covers obviously are beautiful covers. I love them. Yes, if you are into like fairy tale retellings, I would definitely recommend picking this up. So the next book series I have is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. These books, oh my gosh, these are one of my favorite series of all times. You know, I like tab my books. This one has more tabs than this one, surprisingly, but it will. Basically we follow these 6 characters who have to pull off this big heist to basically, which will make them like super duper rich. So basically you follow these 6 characters throughout the story. It's really interesting, and I love this. Oh my gosh. It's so good, okay? And then Crooked Kingdom, you're following, I won't spoil anything, but you're still following those same 6 characters. And so, yes. I don't know which one I liked better, Six of Crows or Crooked Kingdom, because they're both different but similar in the same time. I don't know, but they're both amazing. And it's only 2 books in the series. It's in her like Grishaverse, I don't know. She says it like Grisha, but Grisha makes more sense to me. But these are just, so you have the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and then you have like these 2 books, and then you have King of Scars, which I read. It wasn't my favorite book. I also didn't know a ton of what was going on because I didn't read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but it was just a really slow book, so that wasn't my favorite. But I mean, it was okay, I suppose. But yeah, these 2, definitely would recommend you pick them up. They are amazing. This is also another duology, and that is Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. So these books follow this character named Alosa, And basically she allows herself to be captured by, I guess, other pirates, because she's looking for something on their ship. And basically you follow her through that, but I mean, she allows herself to be captured. And honestly, I just love, I mean, it's not like a deep book, it's just something like fun to read. Basically you follow her through a journey. I mean, it was just a fun read. It honestly reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean, which is honestly why I picked it up, because I love Pirates of the Caribbean. It's just, it's the best. I love Jack Sparrow. The first three are my favorites because they have Will and Elizabeth. She's honestly kind of like a female Jack Sparrow, but not super crazy, you know? And that is kind of how this book is described, is Alosa is like a female Jack Sparrow. So if you like Pirates of the Caribbean, you might want to check this series out because it was a fun read and it was pretty quick, but fun. There's also a little bit of romance, so if that's kind of your thing, that was in there too. Okay, so the next series I read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Honestly, I don't know why I haven't picked this up until this year, but I picked it up this year, and oh my gosh, I love it. And then I've pretty much read all her books except for Crescent City, but holy cow, this series, like, it emotionally wrecked me, okay? But, oh my gosh. Basically, we follow this character, Selena Sardothian. Honestly, I have no idea how you pronounce her character's names. No matter how many times she says it, I still won't know. She's an assassin, and she's been kind of like recruited for this competition that will, if you win, you will become the king's like champion. Basically you just like do the king's bidding or whatever. But it was really interesting because like there were just so many plot twists, and of course there's romance and fantasy and just all the things, okay? I can't just, it's just so good. If you haven't read this series, definitely go pick it up. You might be disappointed. I don't know. Some people love it, some people hate it. I love it. But I just really love Sarah J. Maas's writing. I just think it's really, really interesting. And I honestly love her plots because they just have like such like major plot twists and you don't even know. You're just like, wait, what? And of course the covers are stunning. Like, someone get me 2 swords and hair like that, please. Thank you. Okay, next we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So this is actually the first V.E. Schwab book I have ever read. I have This Savage Song, which I have to read. But oh my gosh, this book, like, apparently this book took her like 10 years to write or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not entirely sure. But it took her a really long time to write, okay? So basically we meet this girl, Addie LaRue, and she makes a deal where she gets to live forever, but everyone who meets her forgets her. And she goes along her journey of life until one day she meets someone, of course, who remembers her. And you just, I don't even have words to describe this book, okay? There's romance. It had to be really hard to write a book like this because like everyone forgets her. It's just go read this book. The font is like really tiny, honestly, but like highly recommend. I also tabbed this one. I just really like tabbing my books, okay? Plus the cover is just beautiful. Look at these end pages, like what? And then of course the hardcover has like birds on it. I think they're crows. Maybe they're not crows, ravens, some bird. I'm not a bird person. But yeah, definitely go check this book out. I really want to read her Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. That one just sounds really, really interesting. So the next series I have is An Ember in the Ashes. And then the second one you have A Torch Against the Night. Then you have A Reaper at the Gates. And the fourth one, which is A Sky Beyond the Storm, came out like 5 days ago. So I really need to pick that up. Basically, we follow this girl, Leigh. I called her Leia, but I feel like it's Leia, who is a slave. And then we follow Elias, who is working for the Empire. And basically in this world, it's kind of like based off the Roman Empire. And basically, Leia goes on this like quest to save her brother, and we follow her through that. And then, I mean, the covers are just beautiful. What is it with like girls and their hair just like, whoo, like, can my hair do that, please? The world building is really, really good. And then, oh my gosh, the plot twists. Oh, this is by Sabaa Tahir. I don't think I said that. But there are some characters you really come to hate, and there are some characters you really come to love. And I would highly recommend this series. The next book I read is The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye. So we follow these two characters, Vika and Nikolai, and basically they are two enchanters, and they enter into this competition to become the Tsar's, like, head enchanter or something. But the catch is that one of them is basically fated to die at the end, and they have to outperform each other in order to win the head enchanter spot. So there's romance in it. The second one is The Crown's Fate, which I didn't like as much as the first one just because of something that happened in it, and it was not my favorite part. But I do think the series was really good and just like a fun, maybe not so fun read, but the Imperial Enchanter. That's the head. The Imperial. So this next book isn't a fantasy book. This is a like real life. It's a nonfiction book, and that is Blackout by Candace Owens. So basically this book talks about a Black America and the problems that they face. So she covers topics such as feminism, education, family, socialism, media, culture, slavery. I just think everyone needs to read this book. I definitely learned a lot from this book. I tabbed it quite a bit. I also have like note cards throughout here just with like definitions and stuff. It was just very, very educational. The next book I read was, well, not that I read, but the next book is You're Not Enough and That's Okay by Allie Beth Stuckey. Now, this is definitely targeted towards Christian women, but if you're not a Christian woman, I still think you could read this. But basically, she covers the 5 myths that Christian women believe and the biblical truths that kind of counteract that. And I can leave some of her podcast episodes in the description box, possibly, if I can do that. I'll try and leave like the titles. So if you don't want to read the book, but you could still go listen to her podcast because that's completely free. It's so interesting because this whole like self-love culture is not biblical. And a lot of people don't see that. I didn't even see that until I started listening to her podcast episodes and I read this book and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is a huge problem. Basically, self-love is like sugar-coated selfishness is what I like to say. It's just selfish. Like, it's just a way of saying that it's like, oh, I love myself, but that's just a way of saying like I'm selfish without actually saying I'm selfish, you know? So I definitely recommend you check this book out. She covers the 5 myths such as, let me just read them. You are enough, which is myth. Myth number 2, you determine your truth. Myth number 3, you're perfect the way you are. Myth 4, you're entitled to your dreams. And myth number 5, you can't love others until you love yourself. I highly recommend you check this book out. I learned so much. I think you could definitely benefit from it. I mean, it's not a super long book, but it's definitely packed full of wisdom and truth. So definitely go check this out. So the next book I have is Lovely War by Julie Berry. If you haven't seen my Books and Beauty video for this book, then definitely go check that out. I dive a little bit more into detail. But basically this is World War I, right? Why am I blanking? On the back it says World War I and II, but I feel like it's World War. Why is that like a tongue twister? World War I. Oh my gosh. Basically we follow these 4 characters. Hazel, James, Aubrey, and Colette. And it's narrated by the goddess Aphrodite. A few of the other gods chime in throughout the book, but it's mainly narrated by Aphrodite. And it's just really interesting because I love the tie-ins of the Greek mythology into this historical fiction. It's definitely a really interesting concept, and I think it was very well executed. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, oh, and it's very heavy in romance, so if that sounds something that's right up your alley, then definitely go check it out. So the next 2 books I have are Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. Again, if you haven't seen my Books and Beauty video for that, you can go check it out. I'll have it in the iCard. I don't know which side it's on. Basically, we follow this character, Laszlo Strange, who's a librarian, and he has always dreamed of this lost city of Weep, and one day he gets the opportunity to go to it. He gets the opportunity to go to this lost city, so of course he goes, and we follow him throughout that journey, and it was a very, very good book. There is definitely some romance, so it's like high fantasy with some romance. If that sounds like you, then you should definitely check this book out. The writing style was also very poetic, which I really enjoyed. I mean, it took me like 3 tries to actually like dive into reading it, because I like read the first chapter and I'm like, what? But then I kept going and it made more sense. So yeah, don't just like read the first chapter and stop. You should probably read like at least 5 chapters before you determine if you like it or not. But definitely go check this out. The series, amazing. The covers are also very beautiful. So yes. So the next series I read, oh man, the cover is bent. I forgot I bent the cover. So sad. Is American Royals and Majesty. This book also came out this year. Very good. I think there needs to be a 3rd book. These 4 characters, Beatrice, Samantha, Daphne, and Nina. Basically, it's like an alternate, I don't think this would be historical fiction. It's like an alternate history, which is really interesting. Basically, it's if instead of offering George Washington the presidency, they offered him a monarchy. Which, I mean, I don't think would have happened because they kind of like left Britain to escape the monarchy. But anyways, it's really interesting. So basically there's still like the Washington family. It's just descended from George Washington. It's full of drama and romance and more drama and more romance. It's definitely more centered on drama and romance. But it's so good. I just loved reading this. Plus the cover's really pretty. So that's always a great selling point. So those were all my favorite books of 2020. If you guys like this, please give it a thumbs up. I will be back either next week or the week after with my favorite makeup of 2020 video. And then I can post, or maybe I'll post this look and then my favorite makeup. Just depends on what I want to do. So if you guys liked it, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below either your favorite book you read in 2020, or your favorite Christmas song. I think my favorite Christmas song is God Rest You Merry Gentlemen or Carol of the Bells, but I also really like Mary Did You Know by Pentatonics. Pentatonics just like nails the Christmas songs, man, and a lot of other songs, but mainly Christmas songs. So again, thank you so much for watching, and with all that being said, I will see you guys in my next video. Ciao, Bellas!